That's going to be an exciting. I will watch all 40 minutes and 29 seconds of it.
No, you won't, because the broadcast won't show it. Welcome to Social Kick. I'm Bryan Lundquist. We got the full crew. Dr. John Mullen, Luke Paddington. It is the Olympics going on. We had to jump on here real quickly just to talk about all the things that are happening in Paris. We're going to do that real quick. No guest today. Man, so exciting. We got Snoop Dogg. We got all the things happening in Paris. The river is finally good quality. Man, what's happening, boys?
Oh, not much. Just excited. We were having some close races. Maybe not fast swimming, which we'll get into, but at least some very, very good racing in the pool.
Yeah, we got everything but fast swimming. Luke, what are you thinking about?
You know, we have no idea about the times. Often when we're seeing the results, it reminds me of ISL. We were just racing.
It is kind of just racing. So we're just going to run through some of the things that we've observed in the games, what stood out to us, and then think about what we're most excited about next. So first, race of the games. I'll kick it over to you, John. What's been the standout race of the Olympics so far?
Oh, this was a tough one because, like I said, there were so many just like close races. But I think I'm going to go with the men's 100 breast. I think there was a lot of excitement going into that. And then we had a surprise winner with Nico getting the win. Great to see, man of our show or a guest of our show, Nick Fink, get a medal on there too. And, just what a race.
Dude, yeah, so unexpected, that race. I mean, so many storylines that were happening in that one that I think I had at the top of my list too. And coming in, I think all the betting odds were on PD and Chin, defending world champion against the greatest ever in the 100 breaststroke, who's like still hanging on, trying to see if PD's going to be on form. And nobody would have picked Nicola Martinez. No shade to him.
Yeah, he's been great for so long.
Yeah, like he's been one of the world-class top breaststrokers for a long time. And so I think maybe there's some people outside of swimming that maybe are less familiar with him because, and this is the problem with swimming, I think, is like everybody focuses on, the PD of the world. Mm-hmm. And of course, Nico's, huge in Italy and everything, but man, nobody would have picked that. Also, I didn't realize that Nick Fink didn't have a medal before.
I know, first Olympic medal. That was like, huh? Because what does he have? 13 world medals or something insane like that? So it's just, that blew my mind too.
Right, and then after Fink's trials, people saying like, maybe he's not like as on form. He obviously delivered at trials, and he's been really consistent for the U.S. in breaststroke over recent years, especially with Michael Andrew kind of like ascended and then hasn't been as fast lately. Like Nick Fink is just, he's still there delivering, and I mean this race is also really slow.
Oh, so slow. Yeah. That's why I'm like, okay, ignore the time. I'm just thinking about purely the race. And it was, like I said, like all the storylines on it it's hard to even go through them all.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Go ahead, Luke.
I was going to say, but that's what's great about our sport. It doesn't have to be fast to be amazing. It was so slow. The world record holder went 59.5. These guys went 59. It's like a 2004 race, but it was so exciting,
Yeah, that's true. You talk about that a lot too with, just racing, whenever we talk with guests about things. And so, that did make it cool. Okay, Luke, what do you have as best race of the games?
There's so many, and I'm going to think of so many of them. But if I think of race, like the entire race from start to finish, that held my attention for the whole duration, men's 200 freestyle. I didn't know what was going to happen. You had outside smoke Richards. You had the 400 free champ take it out like a bullet and like, is Martin's gonna not die and win it? You had Hobson come back on that last 50. I'm like, here he goes again. And then super long arm Popovich touches 0.07 seconds between gold and bronze. Unbelievable. Heartbreak, unbelievable race throughout the entire race. I could not predict what was going to happen, and I have seen millions of 200 freestyles.
Yeah, I thought Luke had it. I think everybody thought Luke had it with, 25 to go, maybe even less. That was so crazy. Yeah, man. And good for Popovich because, It's so funny to think about somebody who's so young, who is already sort of like taken this
Had a
arc
career.
of he's peaked and he's washed up, or he's aging into his body, or he needs a new coach or whatever. So good on him. Or he can't deliver in the big pool because he's too skinny, or it's too wavy. Maybe it is wavy in this pool, given how shallow it is. We'll get into that. So yeah, that one's pretty crazy. All right, you guys took two really good ones. I agree on the men's 100 breaststroke, but I'll hit a couple of honorable mentions here. Women's 100 fly. I don't know how many people were picking Tori to come by Gretchen, especially with the form. Even Gretchen slightly off, maybe barely off. Didn't have her best swim in the final. Tori shows up right on her PB in the final, and gets it done. And the reaction of the meet, I think, was really special for Tori. You also had that women's 100 backstroke, top 4 fastest all time. Kaylee continuing to deliver. Maybe Reagan just slightly off form. Burkhoff, getting an Olympic medal. Amazing. Yeah, so many good ones. But we got more to come up, so let's get on. Who's hot? Who's overperforming? Who's meeting the hype? We just want to talk about who's really killing it at this Olympic Games, that they're meeting expectations, or who's even exceeding expectations. So I'll kick this one to you, Luke. Who you got?
I mean, who as a person, and then I'll say who's overperforming as a country. How's that? So as a person, you just mentioned Tori. Tori is her relay swims, 100 freestyles. She is just on fire, and I can't wait to see more from her. So Tori has that 100 fly, her 100 freestyle in the relay, unbelievable. She's on fire. They said she was good in camp, and she's proving it. I can say who's overperforming. Ireland. Ireland's had 3 or 4 finals. Whiffen, McSherry, Walsh. It's going to continue. Ireland as a country, and Shane Ryan mentioned it in our pod. He mentioned, watch out for Team Ireland. I'm like, really? Dude, as a country, I want to go there. It's hard. And meeting the hype, it's kind of like the obvious ones. Marsha and Summer winning their races hands down. So far, they're just in control halfway through the meet. Marsha and Summer are being Leo Marsha and Summer McIntosh.
Yeah, no, John Luke's going to take every talking point and
Don't worry, I knew he was going to do this. I have one.
We'll give you a second to get in there.
I got one. All right,
No, go. No, do it.
So, like you said, there's obvious ones, but, in a pool that not many PBs are going, I don't think many of us had James Guy going a PB leading off that 800 free relay. So I'm going to say James Guy is hot because a guy that's been around that relay, we know about their 4x200 relay. They were the heavy favorites. I think he just kind of set them up and got them in a position to repeat gold in a slow pool. So I'll say he's hot, and he won a best time in a pool that's not given many best times.
So hot, James Guy. Yeah, I know. I texted you on a group chat right before the relay went off, and I was like, man, I don't know about James Guy in this leadoff spot. I didn't love that. And man, that was a good decision.
Yep, it was. He put him in a great place because it was, as always, the relays are a little unpredictable. And although they were the heavy favorites and reigning champs, the U.S. team, I'll give the men's relays, knock on wood, so far they've been doing well, right?
Solid.
Right,
Yeah.
Very solid swims there. They're doing it what they're supposed to, or maybe even a little better. But hey, Great Britain did what they needed to, with a lot of pressure on them and expectation for them to win.
Yeah, I think you could see that in their post-race reaction, which I was a little underwhelmed by. I mean, yeah, they get a couple flexes in, but nobody was going crazy. I think it was our buddy Tom Dean who was given a little soft clap after. That's how you know it's like, we expected to win, is whenever the team's clapping. When people are fired up, they're not clapping. They're like screaming and yelling and flexing. They're not giving
It's like he was clapping to the other people, like, good job, you showed up.
Yeah. They're not. That's no Kasper Stokowski.
No.
All right, I'll go. The Aussie trio women of Titmus, Molly O, and Kaylee McEwen. Man, who's more solid and dependable to show up to a meet and like deliver a good performance than these two? And I feel like for a long time you've had Titmus and Kaylee McEwen who just, I'll wait till it prove me wrong. I mean, obviously I know Molly came by Titmus at the end of the 200 free, but still Titmus is on form, wins the 400, still on form in the 200. Kaylee wins that 100 backstroke. You know, we still got the 2 IM and the 200 backstroke to go for her. Aussie women so far, you know, on form and delivering, worth the hype, every bit of it. I'll also give a nod to Tatiana Smith, formerly Schumacher. I think, you know, that one, it seems like a bit of a comeback, you know, and so just to have her come and be on form, I'm not sure that I would have said at the beginning of the day like she's gonna win it, and through the rounds pretty consistently looked really great and then delivered again in the final. So like for somebody else to back up an Olympic you know, gold medal and do it in another event, I was impressed by that too. So shout out to South Africa on that one. All right, who's not? Who's I feel like we got a longer list of this. Who's not hot, John? What's who's not showing up?
Well, we've already talked about him a little. I mean, we had him as one of the favorites in the 100 breast and the favorite in a crowded 200 breast, and it's Shin from China. I mean, not even making top 8 in the 200 breast, from being the world record holder and having like a steady performance here and seem to be on the rise. Now, obviously, there's a lot of speculation around that team, and unfortunately, this isn't going to help that speculation with him not performing well.
No, yeah, definitely not going to help the speculation with him not performing well, and I think across the board, maybe China underperforming a little bit. It made me wonder, anytime you see an athlete or hear an athlete who is in the media a lot before a meet, and you know, it's some negativity, generally that seems to go in a more negative way on their performance, I feel like, whereas you know, Phelps famously would keep his mouth shut and then just say like, I'm gonna let my swimming do the talking. And you know, so for those who weren't tracking it as closely, Chin was quoted in some you know, publications as being frustrated about the frequency with which Team China was being drug tested from the period when like these accusations came out around like March, April up until the games. And I saw an article that it said like China athletes were tested on average like 9 times during that period, insane. Where the US was maybe 6 times per Olympic athlete, and Australia was like maybe 5 times per athlete. And so don't quote me on those numbers, but I think it was something in that range. And so basically it's like, you know, it's some like Western witch hunt, you know, European and American witch hunt to come and get Team China, and we're going to show. And it was just like, well, okay.
Yeah. And I think he even came out like right before the games, you know, harping that information or saying that. And then he said he was even woken up in the middle of the night. So yeah, I mean, obviously we want fair and, you know, consistent testing for everyone. But hey, athletes are getting tested. I think this appears to have gotten in his head if nothing else, right, and affecting him on that front.
Yeah, and he could just be off form. I mean, we don't know.
Big time.
But yeah, like when you see all that other stuff and then this is the performance, it does make you wonder about those things. So anyway, yeah, agreed on that. Luke, who you got? Who's not showing up? Who's off form?
Or has COVID. We don't know what's going on with COVID right now. A lot of athletes starting to get sick, right? So
or the waves are hitting them and he's going slower, getting it. I mean, there's so many factors on
absolutely
for them. But go, Luke.
You know, I kept looking off to the side when you guys are talking because I was trying to think. I was disappointed, and she, in my local White Plains girl from New York, you know, she has so much in her. She has so much ahead of her. But Claire Weinstein, I just, you know, just so much more I can see coming from her. That one underperforming, no, it's just that I just know there's so much more she can give because we know her story, we know she's at, and she just had a bum of a race. So not underperforming is just too strong a word for her. Just like, I want another Olympics for her to like forget that and see her shine in LA.
Yeah, she had a good prelims and semis, right?
I think
But I
best
think it
time at
was-
semis. Best time
Yeah,
at semis.
yeah.
So
But then you touch, and that's why I'm being too hard. It's a hard answer. I don't have one. I fought Chinese, right? But then when you think Chinese, I fought of the 100 freestyler semis, no prelims, and then all of a sudden it goes to 47-1. So the Chinese have been up and down a lot,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We should say with
so-
the exception of Pan. Like Pan's definitely
the
still on
breaststroker.
form.
The breaststroker,
the
Tan.
female person,
Yeah.
getting second. But
Yeah.
she was up there.
Yeah. So when you said Claire, like local, I thought you were going to go Kate Douglas for some reason because she's from Pelham, not far from where you are in New York.
Yeah.
And and I was like, what bone do you have to pick with Kate right now?
She's done nothing.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go Team USA on the whole, and we can talk about their performance across the board. But I think there's just a few things that every time post trials, the U.S. has a different strategy. First of all, with their schedule from trials to the games, and I think '96 was the last time they tried doing a spring trials. Didn't go that great. A lot of athletes sat out of the college season to prioritize trials or tried to piggyback off the two. Didn't go that great. And so since then, the U.S. has been focused on doing this trials about 5 weeks-ish out from the games. And to my knowledge, they're the only country that does. And I think it's worked for a lot of college coaches who are used to the conference meet to NCAA schedule, and that mindset it kind of stems from that schedule and having seen success doing that. There's lots of examples. Every world champs, every world champs isn't the same, but certainly for every Olympic cycle, every 4 years, there's some examples of people that have a tougher time hanging on. And Exhibit A, Chris Giuliano. And there's more. Okay, Luca Orlando missing the semifinal. Matt Fallon missing the final. Katie Grimes missing the 1500 final. That one may be a little bit less related to the timing of the two meets
because she
had
medaled
a
in
great
it.
4 a.m. Yeah, I don't know what that one's about, but but you see some of these inconsistencies across Team USA right now, and it seems like there's more of them. Like Lily King off form a little bit off the podium, and so I still don't love it. I've never loved that schedule for the U.S. I think there's been lots of cases where they've kind of gotten by and maybe overperformed, and I speculate that that's sort of in spite of the timing, and so I don't know what the right criteria is to make that decision. If they continue the momentum right now, which is to underperform in terms of expected medals overall, then it's going to ruffle some feathers and maybe have them go back to the drawing board and get all the heads together and say, what's the right strategy? What led to this? As any good organization should. But yeah, don't love the timing right now. I think Team USA, totally fair to say, underperforming. They only got 2 gold medals. I say this as the armchair who never made an Olympic team.
See, I think they're doing about what I expect. Definitely a little worse, not gonna lie. But people would ask me how many golds is the team gonna win this year? And I was going through the men's before the meet, and it was 3 or 4. And they're kind of on pace for around that. If Dressel can win the 100 fly, they win the medley relay. That's 3, and that's kind of what I was thinking when I was going through them. They just have had some bad luck, I think, with some of these touches. And like you said, I think the bigger issue is maybe some of these letdowns from not making semis, not making finals, right? So I think that's kind of the point you're highlighting. But as far as the numbers and the medal count, it's close to what I thought. It's just, I don't know. Like you said, I'm not sure if it's the letdown, and we're kind of getting into that point later now. So I'd be getting into that point of the timing of trials, or people were saying, hey, there was so much going on at trials, so much excitement that maybe it's hard to repeat that. Even though it looks like great energy in Paris and great excitement, maybe just, trying to maintain that for another go that's a pretty quick turnaround might be unrealistic.
Yeah, totally. I'm with you. Okay, we had another one on here for most unexpected performance. We may have already touched on some of the examples to use here, but do you guys have anything for this?
I mean, nothing else that we didn't touch on, I guess, just to highlight Mona McSherry. I mean, I don't know if I would have had her in top 8 getting a medal. I thought that was, and obviously she's a great swimmer at Tennessee. She's on everyone's radar, but that one stood out amongst some of the other ones we've discussed.
Yeah, I don't think it was unexpected either for Whiffen, but yeah, just the two of them together and Whiffen in a big spot getting it done. I guess a couple examples with that of like the distance, like Martin's like showing up and getting it done too. That doesn't fit the criteria for unexpected because obviously he was people thinking about him to break the world record. But I guess what I'm thinking about is like just these, these athletes that maybe are on the cusp or doing like really dangerous things throughout the season. And you're wondering, like you haven't yet seen them deliver in the biggest spot yet. And I think we've seen that a few times now. I also think like Niccolo Martineggi was unexpected to win the 100 breast as we talked about. But anything for you, Luke?
No, I was agree with Mona. I mean, second at NCs, we know her, but completely unexpected. So I guess the relay lineup for the US, and they kind of came together. I didn't expect that relay lineup, right? With Smith anchoring, the 200 freestyle, the 4x2. Yeah. I mean, Smith anchoring, Kibler on it. I mean, they you didn't expect them to be on that, So I would say that was an unexpectedly great, especially anchored by Kieran. That was good. That was a good swim.
Yeah. Okay. We just had a grab bag of some other stories here too. Luke, you mentioned we don't know who has COVID, and so far we've heard Adam Peaty has COVID. Who knows what impact that had on his performance in the 100 breaststroke? The news came after. You were saying in our group chat, John, or who he was next to on the podium, or one of you guys said it. Lenny Pallister reported has COVID, is going to miss the 1500. We don't know, who else, but I think it's kind of interesting with this one that we were like, I don't know what the protocol is, because in Tokyo, famously, very restrictive protocols, obviously, masking on the podium, and there was the whole Michael Andrews saga with the maskless interview or whatever that was going on there. Social distancing at the time. I don't know if there's like a protocol now if there's an athlete who's sick or reports that they're sick. I think it's kind of like if you're sick with the flu or anything else, sorry if I was in your presence, or and if I am sick, like there's no rule against me being able to be around you.
Yeah, I mean, I think after trials, Abby Whitesell came out and said, "Oh, she had COVID," and then there was a lot of people talking about like, should she have mentioned this, or should she have even been there, and what's going on? Because I don't know. So I think there's, like you said, the rules are a little unclear, and unfortunately, at a stage like this, it's gonna force athletes to make a tough decision that's maybe not best for their own health or best for others' health, right? But I mean, geez, you see why they would do it. I mean, you're got to be gutted if you're anyone that's getting COVID at a prime meet, but especially if this is your first Olympics and possibly only Olympics.
Yep. Anything on this one, Luke?
No, it's part of swimming as well. Now, you get sick at meets and you have to deal with it, and it sucks. I mean, you can dislocate your shoulder, like what happened to the Egyptian swimmer. So you deal with injuries, you deal with sickness. That's where we are right now, and it's just really, really hard. And sometimes you just have a bad meet because you got sick. I got pneumonia my last competitive meet in my career in cold ass Winnipeg in February. But yeah, it's what happens, and it sucks. And I'm so sorry that athletes like Lani can't be there for her in peak performance. And she had a nice post today. She's like, is it fight or flight right now for her? And I thought that was a nice way of doing it. Like, how do you do Michael Jordan flu game, or is this impossible at that level for a 1500?
Right. Yep.
Yeah, so with the slow pool, I mean, I don't know how much, and B, maybe this is a question for you. I mean, we've had talks about, obviously, the pool depth. Then there's talks about lack of food for the athletes, lack of AC and air conditioning, people having COVID. Luke, you've been to a few Olympics, just commuting around and getting
19 minutes commute. Yeah.
Right? And then obviously there's just being a lot more pressure and a lot more fast people, more waves in here. I mean, do we think it's all these factors? Do we think one is more, prominent, or why is it so much slower?
But is it really that much slower when you look at the times it takes to make the finals compared to the last one? When you look at a good few Olympic records being broken, you know, if you look at Olympic races, is it really that much slower, or is it just certain events like breaststroke being slower? You know, like I understand the pool idea for sure. You know, 2.15 meters, that's 7 feet. You stand at the bottom of the pool, you can put your hand, you shouldn't have to be able to stand at the bottom of the pool and touch the surface of the pool. I mean, 7 feet versus 10 feet, which is what 3 meters is, that's a big difference. That's 3 feet. Okay. And also Brett Hawke did a really good article on not just the depth, but all of the equipment in the bottom of the pool. So you have Shane Ryan has a very good post on his Instagram with lots of the equipment showing on there. Can you imagine what that means? So yes, the pool has a factor. But you know, it is a 90 minutes in traffic ride from the pool to the village, which Brian, you're going to experience in a couple of days' time. You're going to see. They get back at 1, 2 a.m. in the morning. There's no food available often for them. They can't sleep. There's COVID. So is it a slow games, guys? Comparatively,
yes.
Games.
Game.
Like game, yes. Overall, yes, overall. It's a slow games overall. Of all the events for an Olympic Games, would you consider this to be a slow Olympic Games overall?
I think yes, with the caliber of athletes improving year over year and the expectations there. Yes, we're doing better than the 16th place in year 2000. But geez, you look at world champs in these things, there's been so much improvements and technological changes that I think it should be faster, especially on that top end. But nonetheless, like you said, there's so many other variables there, and the racing's been great, and that's, you know, I think a great highlight of it still.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to measure it by some records that are broken too. I think statistically, yeah, you're right. Like top to bottom, like it's deep. John, you mentioned it's like it's a really deep meet. It's just at the top end, the pointy end hasn't been as fast. There's some examples that challenge that. Gretchen Walsh was, 55.3 and her world record's 55.1. Kaylee McEwen was 57.3 and Reagan's world record is 57.1. Marchand went 4:02 still, so he's like barely off of his world record. So there are a few cases where the world record was like in play, but ultimately didn't get broken. But then we see these 59 to win the 100 breaststroke is just crazy, So when the world record's 56 and 59 wins,
insane.
Yeah, like that's crazy. So
how many people have been faster than that in the last 3-4 years? I mean, God, it's got to be 16 people have gone faster than that.
Unbelievable.
Right? Oh, man.
Totally.
Yeah, but 100 free's been fast. The 200, yeah. Okay.
You've had some
fly.
fast 100 frees.
That's 100 fly.
The 800 was fast.
Yep. 800 was Olympic record.
Yeah.
And we didn't have half Dewey here. Imagine if he was here too. I mean, hopefully he's
the 400 IM.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have good examples of faster swims, but I think statistically, when it comes to the records that are not being broken, that's ultimately what ends up standing out. All right, let's talk about anything else on his other stuff. We had Marchand. You talked about him earlier. He met expectations in the 4 IM. Yeah, he didn't break the world record, but I mean, shit.
Jeez.
He was right on it. In our allegedly slow pool, maybe. So, any thoughts on Marchand, boys?
Yeah, one thing I want to say, we talk about Kate Douglas being like a strange to be a 200 breaststroke and a 50 freestyler. I mean, none of us here can swim a 200 breaststroke, right? And she does that. Leo Marchand just did something last night nobody's ever done. He finaled at the Olympics in 200 breaststroke and 200 butterfly. Think about that. A 200 flyer making a 200 breaststroke evolved into butterfly, but it doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's my point. It's just, man, it really highlights the evolution of breaststroke, right? Especially for 200. And if you can have this, great undulation and ability to find body line, like obviously the ultra elites are so good at, is just finding streamline, right? Why is Leon and Douglas so good on their turns? I think because they have good dolphin kits, but they just find body line so well, right? They just find the path of least resistance. And in breaststroke, there's so much resistance. So I think with that stroke evolving, that's why these two, appear so absurd to us that, yeah, as Luke mentioned, we're not breaking 3 minutes in our prime in a 200-meter breaststroke, where they're able to do it with multiple events. So I think it's great to see Leon doing this in front of his home country. You know, the energy on deck, from what I could tell in the telecast, was huge. And what people have told me that are there, they're just like chanting his name before the meet starts. And for him to, you know, perform and do well and have that moment, that was really nice to see.
Yeah, I'm excited to get there and hear what all of that's about, because, man, like those types of things, I feel like you can never capture on the broadcast.
No.
And so people have been talking about what the energy is like in there with them cheering for him, and I think this is one of those examples where you just don't know what it's like until you're there in the building going, oh. Yeah. Oh, I mean, we know he's a star, but wow, they're crazy about him, which, I mean, rightfully so.
Brian, to this day, I still remember being in Sydney and seeing Ian Thorpe. In fact, I bought the 400 freestyle winning poster of Ian Thorpe in Sydney, and just the noise of 20,000 people going crazy. And then at Rio, not so much Bruno, but Thiago Pereira. When Thiago went out, the whole crazy audience going Thiago. This is meant to be even bigger than that. So Brian, enjoy it. Just enjoy being there for that.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. All right, last one we had here was like, what are we most excited?
Before we go to the last one, I want to go to the one that is hard for people to talk about, but we should talk about it. Damn, that sucked. I feel terrible for that swimmer, because we all looked at Popovich's out touch, and we look at the 0.2 by Tatiana split win. But you have to think about shit. There were some shitty, disappointing swims, and I feel for them. And we should talk about that because it's part of our swimming.
Well, I feel like you got one. Yeah, I feel like you got one ready. Yeah, go ahead.
I got one ready because I we did a couple of reels on the others, but I got one for I've been there as a 8-year-old swimming breaststroke, and all of a sudden I just messed up my finish, and it happened to Tang. She was winning, and we see it so often. And so look at Tang's 100 breaststroke finish. Yes, Tatiana had an amazing touch and did the right thing you're supposed to do. But Tang, young, she just, And there are other examples, guys, I'm sure you have.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say Gretchen Walsh in the 100 fly. You know, I think all the pressure, had the world record going into it, having a good meet. And so excited for Tori, but I felt a little gutted for her, especially, you know, just her being the face, or like, you know, one of the first events there. But I'll give it to her. I think she handled it really well. You know, she, you know, said all the right things, did all the right things when, you know, she had to be gutted when it just ended up being, you know, maybe wrong place, wrong time, or just, you know, didn't have her best swim. But she had a good swim. She got silver, her first medal. But yeah, I felt a little kind of gutted for her, in all honesty.
Totally got it for Gretchen. Yeah, agreed with everything you just said. Well, I think the one that we did a reel on that we haven't mentioned yet is Max Litchfield, and getting fourth at the third straight Olympic Games, missing the podium, getting faster every time, like continuing to see the progress. But, you know, at the end of the day, at the end of a career, it's got there's some sting to that. You know, we haven't talked to him about it yet, but, you know,
gotta hurt.
That's gotta hurt to be that close to an Olympic medal and come away. Has that ever happened before, where there's been 3 straight fourth place finishes? Yeah, I don't know. And yeah, Tong, that extra stroke, man. Well, I think she would have lost, actually. I think Smith would have got her anyway with the glide. It was just like in between timing. But if you were to look at where their heads are in the pool, she's definitely ahead at that point.
And you got to give it to Tatiana. That surge was like amazing, unbelievable by her and surge, right? So part of it is, you know, bad timing, but then the other athlete just had their timing down and was charging at that right moment.
Well, I have to say, this is one thing that like it's, when you see it in breaststroke, it's much more pronounced because it's like a whole body lunge situation, and you're fully committed and diving out. But I remember actually Cesar Cielo being very good at this particular thing, but in freestyle. Somehow in like the 100 freestyle stroke, he had the last 2 strokes. I don't know how he got to the wall so fast, but he had this kind of lunge thing figured out where those last 2 were really good. And I really believe that was a key to him winning a lot of races is those when he was in a tight race, those last couple just getting a hand on the wall really well, and I think Smith exemplified it in breaststroke. But it's a weird.
How about
Bryan
whiffing, just going like crazy those last 5 meters, wild arms, maybe something like that. That was like get that sprint stroke out, distance guy. Love it.
He got it done. He got it done.
He did.
Bryan-
It was.
I was gonna say, based on what you just said about Cesar, do you think it made a difference that you're next to that person? Like I'm thinking Matt Richards outside lane, did not see Popovich or Hobson's. He did, but not in far away. You think if he was next to one of them, he would have? I don't know. It's hard to say.
No,
he lost by
but-
0.02.
No, but after seeing Bobby's interview, I think Bobby Fink would have won if he was next to Whiffen. But he said he couldn't see him, and he was keying off of Greg.
Yeah.
And I think that Bobby's whole thing is he wants to like hang in the race and be in a certain spot and then know that he's within range. And I think he knew he was within range of Greg, but he didn't know he was out of range of Whiffen. And so I think that some of that post-race reaction from Bobby was both like disappointment that he didn't win and disappointment that he didn't realize where Whiffen was. Yeah, I think we're going to see that change when it comes to the 1500.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch gears. Race most excited about for the rest of the games.
Men's 200 fly. We're recording this before that starts in a few hours. I am excited to see those two show up. Milak and Leon.
Who you got?
Milak. I don't know though. I just I don't know. I just think if Milak is in form and he looks like he's there, I just don't know if Leon's got a 151 in him going out in like a 50-point low. But so I don't know. I mean, you hear all these rumors. Milak's not training. He's out of the pool, and then he's he looks great, right? He looks great. But I'm excited. I'm ask me in an hour, I might change my mind. B.
Well, dude, seeing Leon in both of those, the fly and the breaststroke, like his breaststroke looks a lot better than his butterfly.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's part of it. Obviously, Milak went a little bit faster in semis, but Leon had the 200 breast as his second event in that session last night. So like obviously he was holding back in the fly, and there's not too many people that can swim really easy butterfly and look really good doing it. So the end of the Leon's 2-fly semi, it looked like he was tying up a bit. He wasn't. He was just letting up some and cruising into the finish. So obviously he has more. I agree with you though. I think that's going to be a tight race. I don't know if he wins that 2-fly. 2 breast on the other hand, especially with Chin, in the form that he's in, and obviously out of the final, and Fallon out of the final. I think the 2 breasts is Leon's to win, or Leon's to lose rather. So, but I am excited to watch that 2 fly. Luke, what'd you have? What are you
shade for Stubbly Cook, huh? The defending Olympic champ.
Oh shit! How did I forget him? Yeah, how did I forget him? I'm disappointed that. Well, I don't know. I think it would have been similar to the way that we talked about Chin, about the media hype and everything beforehand. I'm glad that there was some talk about Stubbly Cook maybe protesting or being upset about the fact that Chinese athletes were competing, and maybe he was going to do something about it. I'm glad that seems to kind of have fizzled, at least on my radar. And so and he just focused on swimming, go fast. He's another one of those who has just an unbelievable final 50, which is definitely really scary. So
it's gonna be exciting to see him charging Leon, and because I think Leon will definitely be out, right? Like you said, I think just with how their racing styles are. So it's just
also, what's the event order? Which one comes first? 2 fly or breast tonight? Fly? Still?
I mean, fly
yesterday it did, but I don't know if
semis,
it's the same.
Yeah,
I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. All right, Luke, event you're looking forward to the most?
I can't decide. You go first.
Oh, okay. Well, so I'm going to go women's 2 IM, because with the form that Kaylee's on and now, and then you've got the form that Kate Douglas was on at trials, and maybe slightly off that, but it's a really long meet. man, I don't think we've yet to see like get into all of Kate's event schedule yet to really be able to see what kind of form she's on. I don't know if like the early relay was enough of an indicator, given hey, you gotta train up again post trials and then come back down. So maybe her best is yet to come later in the meet. So I'm excited about that between Kate and Alex and Kaylee McEwen to see. I think that's another one that kind of has me excited, like the women's 100 backstroke did, where it could like really go to any of them. And, so that's one. I won't steal two. Luke, there's another one on my radar, but you go.
No, do two.
Well, I'm going to be there in Paris to watch the 50 free. And and also, so besides the fact that we tried some of Cam McAvoy after we had him on the show, and then we were in John's gym trying to do some of the insane like pull-up bar balancing, like body position stuff that Cam McAvoy does and has mastered and have led to his success. Like that guy's so freaking strong in his core, and I don't know, it's pretty amazing to see somebody late in career have that kind of success. Also, Dressel was on form at trials in the 50, and I know he's got the 100 fly first, but Caleb could, I think coming back from, being away and having a baby and all of this, clearly like Caleb's not in 5 gold form, poster child of the Olympic Games the way he was in Tokyo. But there's a possibility that Dressel comes out of this Olympic Games, with a lot bigger medal haul than I think I might have thought that he might have 6 months ago, a year ago. So I'm excited to see kind of that's one of them, maybe 100 fly and 50 free together, just to see like how Dressel's Olympics finishes up, and obviously the men's medley, and who knows if he's on the mixed medley. So yeah,
what could he get? He could get, because he might be on prelims of some of those relays. So 400 free relay, 100 fly, 50 free, 400 medley, mixed medley, mixed free. I mean, that's like an insane odds that he'd get gold in all those, but
and I guess not a mixed free.
Oh, sorry. That was, World Champs has the mixed free, right?
Yeah, World Champs does. Thank you. The Olympics.
That's good. Australia would probably win that one easily. So
yeah.
All right. So obviously, Brian, I was going with my emotional favorite, the 50 free. Dylan's been 21.6. He has George now on his coaching staff. That's where I'm most looking for personally. But honorable mention to 200 breaststroke women. The Russian just went 2:18.8. You got Kate Douglas saving up, dropping 100 free. That's going to be an exciting race against Tatiana. You got the 50 free for women as well. Sarah, maybe coming back. But to me, the race-wise, the 1500 men. It's going to be, Whiffen says it's going to take a medal to take a world record to medal. The way he's looking, way things looking, that's going to be an exciting. I will watch all 14 minutes and 29 seconds of it.
No, you won't, because the broadcast won't show it.
Eurosport, baby.
Shout out Eurosport.
I mean, I can't believe we're still not mentioning women's 200 back either. There's so many good races coming up, right? I mean, once again, another showdown with Reagan. I know McEwen got her, but hey, we'll see. They're both two of the world's best, and I think most people would bet on Kaylee, especially after the 100. But we'll see.
Okay, but real talk. Let's close this out. Have you guys seen this thing about the Muffin Man? Have you seen this Norwegian swimmer who's like become TikTok famous, Henrik Christensen, because he's posted like 10 videos of himself eating the chocolate muffins in the
I have no idea what you're talking about, but I've heard of that swimmer. Didn't he? Is he a distance swimmer?
I don't know what it means.
Probably. Only distance swimmers do weird stuff, right?
I don't know, man. But if you haven't seen it, he's apparently got millions of views on these TikTok videos about eating the chocolate muffins in the Olympic Village. Hey,
I'm seeing it now.
You're going to be there, so you'll have to have one with them.
I know. I got to get in there.
Cheers the chocolate muffin with them.
If there's any of them left, I don't know if they're going to have any food left by the time I get there. But all right, let's wrap it up. I'm excited to be there. If you're in Paris or going to be there, I get there on Friday. I'm going to catch the last few sessions of swimming. So hit us up on Instagram at Social Kick Swim. If you're in town, would love to chat with you. And everybody, keep joining Olympics times. We're excited to wrap it up after, and boom, medals, 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 more slow swimming. See you guys. That's it for this episode. Bye.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you're enjoying Social Kick, tell your friends about it. And be sure to tell us what you liked by leaving a comment and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Social Kick. And you can find all of our content on our website at thesocialkick.com.